Chosen ones, be still for a moment and listen with the part of you that has survived every disappointment, every delay, every unanswered question, every night when your own heart felt like a locked room. Something is moving, something is shifting, something is descending through the invisible corridors of your life with a speed that your mind has not yet caught up to. This is not ordinary change. This is not another passing emotion. This is not the kind of movement that begins in noise and ends in nothing. This is the kind of movement that begins in the unseen and arrives with such force that it divides your life into before and after. There are moments when the world appears unchanged on the outside, yet in the deeper layers of existence, entire structures are being rearranged for one soul who finally became ready. This is one of those moments. The air around your destiny is not the same. The silence around your prayers is not the same. The weight in your spirit is not the same. What you thought was delay was actually alignment. What you thought was abandonment was actually preparation. What you thought was stillness was the careful tightening of invisible strings before a great release. You have been sensing it, have you not? That strange pressure, that holy discomfort, that feeling that your life can no longer remain what it has been, even if nothing around you has fully explained why. It is because a threshold has opened, and your soul has already stepped closer to it than your mind realizes. There are changes that come slowly and teach patience. Then there are changes that come suddenly and reveal that patience was never wasted. You are standing before the second kind. Do not dismiss what your spirit has been trying to tell you. Do not reduce this stirring to mere emotion. There are seasons when the inner alarm is not fear, but recognition. Recognition that the old rhythm is breaking. Recognition that the old delays is expiring. Recognition that what belongs to you is no longer wandering somewhere in abstraction, but moving with intent, speed, and precision toward your life. This is why you have felt restless. This is why certain conversations no longer fit you. This is why familiar spaces have begun to feel smaller. Your soul is making room for what your present self cannot yet fully describe. And because this message has found you now, at this exact moment, do not treat it casually. Receive it with the seriousness of a soul being awakened. Receive it as a broadcast meant to interrupt the ordinary voice of discouragement. Receive it as a reminder that the unseen does not forget timing, that preparation is never meaningless, and that acceleration often begins when the chosen one is tired of pretending nothing is changing. Before we go deeper, do this with intention. Like this video, subscribe, activate the notification bell. Leave a comment that marks your readiness. Share this message with someone whose spirit has also been standing in the hallway between exhaustion and breakthrough. Do not do it mechanically. Do it as an act of agreement with what is being formed within you. Let it be your quiet declaration that you are no longer resisting what is trying to find you. Because something is coming faster than you expected, faster than your calculations, faster than your doubts, faster than the old version of you would have believed possible. So prepare yourself, not with panic, but with inner posture, not with fear, but with reverence, not with haste, but with depth. The hour for guessing is ending. The hour for recognizing has begun. Part 1. The speed of arrival is not chaos, it is convergence. What is coming faster than you expected is not random, and that matters more than you know. The soul often becomes anxious when movement increases, because it has been taught to associate speed with instability. But there is a sacred kind of acceleration that does not come from confusion. It comes from convergence. It comes from many invisible threads, long separated by distance and delay, suddenly being drawn together by a timing greater than your own understanding. That is the kind of speed surrounding you now. There are seasons in life when everything appears scattered. Your efforts seem to fall in different directions. Your healing takes longer than planned. Your answers arrive in fragments. Your heart receives glimpses but not fulfillment. Yet, what you call scattered is often simply unfinished. What you call disconnected is often being arranged beyond the range of your current perception. And when the appointed moment arrives, all those threads begin to move at once. The doors that seemed unrelated revealed they were part of the same corridor. The lessons that felt painful revealed they were building the same muscle. The losses that felt unfair revealed they were removing what could not be carried into the next chapter. This is why the next movement in your life may feel sudden to the outside world, but deeply familiar to your spirit. The world will call it unexpected, because it did not witness the inner years. It did not hear the conversations you had with yourself in silence. It did not see the nights you sat with your own brokenness and refused to let it become your identity. It did not see the decisions you made when nobody applauded. It did not see the restraint, the surrender, the private rebuilding. But the unseen saw it all. And because the unseen saw it all, the acceleration now approaching you is not careless. It is earned in the secret places of your becoming. Chosen ones, there is a reason your life has felt like it was gathering tension. Tension is not always a sign that things are falling apart. Sometimes, tension is the evidence that things are being pulled into readiness. A bow must be drawn back before the arrow flies. A seed must break before the root descends. A soul must endure compression before it can carry expansion without collapsing under it. You have been in that compression. You have been in the drawing back. And now you are mistaking the first signs of release for danger, when in truth they are signs of movement. Do not sabotage acceleration by demanding that it resemble the old pace. The old pace belonged to the old version of you. The next pace belongs to the self that was built through endurance, stripped through loss, clarified through solitude, and strengthened through inward obedience. When what is meant for you begins to move, it may move with a force that challenges your comfort. Let it. Not everything that unsettles you is meant to harm you. Some things unsettle you because they are too alive to fit inside the small expectations you formed while surviving. There is also this truth. When convergence begins, distractions often increase. Old fears reintroduce themselves. Old attachments call your name. Old patterns ask to be fed one more time. Why? Because acceleration threatens everything in you that learned to live below your full calling. The lesser self prefers delay because delay keeps you negotiable. Delay keeps you available to smallness. Delay keeps you close to what no longer deserves access to your future. But when convergence begins, when the pieces of your becoming start moving toward one another, the smaller self feels exposed. Let it feel exposed. Its discomfort is not your emergency. Stand still in your center and understand this. What is coming quickly is not coming carelessly, it is coming because enough has aligned. Enough has ended. Enough has ripened. Enough has been purified. Enough has been prepared. This speed is not a threat to your peace. It is the reward of a deeper order finally reaching completion. So when things begin to shift, do not say, "This is too much." Say instead, "This is what happens when preparation meets its moment." Part 2. The hidden years were not empty. They were building capacity. One of the greatest misunderstandings of the human soul is the belief that nothing is happening when nothing visible is changing. But the hidden years are never empty. They are dense with invisible construction. They are full of silent architecture. They are the chambers where capacity is built, where character is purified, where discernment is sharpened, and where desire is separated from destiny. If something is about to arrive faster than you expected, it is because your hidden years did not fail. They completed something in you. You have spent time in places that felt like spiritual winter, places where your questions seemed louder than your answers, places where progress was not measurable by applause, achievement, or visible reward. You may have wondered whether those years were wasted, whether your patience had become foolish, whether your effort had disappeared into a sky that remained quiet. But what if the quiet was not absence? What if it was concentration? What if the silence was not neglect, but deep work being done where spectacle could not interfere? A soul that receives too quickly without being enlarged first becomes fragile under blessing. A heart that is given access before it is purified confuses possession with purpose. A person who reaches visibility before they have been grounded inwardly becomes the prisoner of reaction, praise and fear. This is why the hidden years were necessary. You were not merely waiting for something to come to you. You were being expanded so that when it came, it would not destroy your peace, distort your identity, or seduce you away from your true center. Think of all the internal work you were forced to do when there was nothing to distract you. You had to confront your own fear. You had to sit with your own unmet expectations. You had to learn the difference between urgency and wisdom. You had to stop chasing every door that opened simply because it was open. You had to let yourself be misunderstood without spending your whole life explaining your soul to people committed to shallow vision. You had to become less dependent on recognition and more anchored in inner truth. That was capacity being built. That was strength being woven into your invisible structure. The world glorifies visible triumph, but the unseen honors prepared vessels. Prepared vessels do not need noise to know who they are. Prepared vessels can carry weight without performing panic. Prepared vessels do not mistake speed for confusion because they have already been trained in stillness. This is why your hidden season mattered. It taught you how to remain inwardly steady while everything outwardly changes. It taught you how to hold intensity without losing your center. It taught you how to stop collapsing every time life moved in ways you had not planned. And hear this carefully. The hidden years also exposed what in you needed to die. Not your soul, not your calling, not your future, but the false self that kept trying to build a life from fear, comparison, hurry, and borrowed worth. That version of you had to weaken. That version of you had to lose influence. That version of you had to stop leading your decisions. Why? Because what is coming next cannot be carried by a self still addicted to external proof. What is coming next requires a deeper authority, a quieter confidence, a more mature inner government. Chosen ones, do not insult your preparation by speaking of it as if it were emptiness. Do not call it nothing. Do not call it wasted time. Call it formation, call it strengthening, call it hidden enlargement. Call it the furnace that removed what could not walk with you into the next speed of your becoming. The hidden years were not a punishment. They were the place where your roots learn depth. And because your roots learn depth, the next growth will not break you when it comes suddenly. So when something begins to happen faster than expected, do not think, how did this come so quickly? And ask instead, what in me was being built all along that made this arrival possible now? The answer will humble you. It will show you that what appeared delayed was in fact being protected. It will show you that the unseen did not forget you for a single moment. It was measuring your capacity with love, too precise to rush what had not yet become strong enough to remain whole. Part 3. The old timeline is breaking, and that is why you feel the tension. There comes a point in the life of a chosen soul when the old timeline can no longer hold them. the old emotional habits, the old relational patterns, the old cycles of self-betrayal, the old tolerance for confusion, the old agreement with limitation, all begin to crack at once. This cracking is often mistaken for instability, when in truth, it is a sign that the former structure is losing authority. If you have felt tension lately, if things that once felt normal now feel heavy, stale, or strangely misaligned, it may be because the old timeline is breaking its grip on you. A timeline is not merely a sequence of events. It is an agreement of identity. It is the path you keep walking because some former version of you believed it was all you deserved, all you could expect, or all you were allowed to become. Many people stay inside old timelines because they are familiar, and familiarity often disguises itself as safety. But the chosen one is never allowed to remain indefinitely in what has become false. At some point, your spirit begins to revolt against what your fears once accepted. At some point, your inner life becomes too awake to continue calling survival peace. This is why separation has been happening. Perhaps certain people no longer fit naturally in your atmosphere. Perhaps certain environments that once held you now drain you. Perhaps certain ambitions that once excited you now feel shallow. That is not failure. That is clarification. A breaking timeline leaves evidence. It leaves behind restlessness, where there used to be numb acceptance. It leaves behind sacred dissatisfaction, where there used to be passive endurance. It leaves behind a deeper hunger for truth, where there used to be a smaller hunger for comfort. And yes, there is grief in this. There is always grief when a timeline ends. Even unhealthy patterns can feel intimate when they have lived with you for a long time. Even limiting identities can feel familiar when you have worn them through many seasons. But grief does not mean you are choosing wrongly. Sometimes, grief is simply the emotional weather that passes through when the soul withdraws its agreement from an outdated version of life. You are not grieving your highest future. You are grieving the collapse of what can no longer contain it. The tension you feel is the friction between two realities. One is the life your old self learned to navigate. The other is the life your emerging self is being called to inhabit. In between them is a narrow place where you may feel stretched, misunderstood, and internally divided. This place is uncomfortable, but it is holy. It is the crossing place. It is where your identity stops negotiating with smallness. It is where your soul decides it would rather be uncertain in truth than comfortable in self-betrayal. Do not run backs to what is collapsing just because the unknown is not yet fully visible. The old timeline always tries to appear kinder when it senses your departure. Old fears suddenly sound practical. Old connections suddenly seem necessary. Old limits suddenly begin speaking the language of caution and realism. But beneath those voices is one simple desire: to keep you available to a future smaller than the one that has begun calling your name. Refuse it. Refuse the seduction of diminished living. Chosen ones, when timelines break, the earth of your life shakes for a reason. It is not merely to remove, it is to reveal. It reveals who you are when old permission disappears. It reveals what you believe when old structures no longer hold you up. It reveals whether you are ready to stop asking the past for approval before entering what has already been prepared for you. This is why something is coming faster than expected. The old delay was tied to an old agreement, but that agreement is losing power now. The path ahead is no longer waiting for the version of you that needed to shrink. It is responding to the version of you that has finally begun to say yes to depth, yes to truth, yes to the greater life that once felt too large to claim. Let the old timeline break. Let it shake. Let it end. Not everything familiar is faithful. Not everything repeated is ordained. Sometimes, the holiest thing you can do is let the previous version of your life become impossible to return to, because when return becomes impossible, arrival becomes inevitable. Part 4. Obedience before evidence is what opens the faster path. The deeper laws of transformation have always required something difficult from the chosen one. Movement before proof, surrender before explanation, obedience before evidence. This is one of the most misunderstood principles of the inner life. Many wait for certainty before they will act. Many ask for visible guarantees before they will release what is draining them. Many demand full explanation before they will trust the inner instruction already knocking at their spirit. But the faster path does not usually open to the one who needs constant proof. It opens to the one who has learned to recognize truth before it becomes convenient. Obedience, in its purest form, is not blind submission, it is sacred alignment. It is the decision to move with what is true, even when the visible world has not yet validated it. It is the quiet strength to say, I know this is the direction, even if I cannot yet show anyone a completed map. This kind of obedience is costly because it often isolates you from the comfort of collective approval. It makes you look early. It makes you look strange. It makes you look unexplainable. But the soul that lives only by visible confirmation remains chained to the pace of ordinary thinking. Chosen ones, think of the decisions that have already shaped you. The endings you embraced when everyone else said hold on longer. The spaces you left when logic said stay, because at least it is familiar. The habits you broke before there was any immediate reward. The boundaries you formed before people understood why they were necessary. Those were not small decisions. Those were acts of inner government. Those were declarations that your life would no longer be ruled by fear, disguised as caution. There is immense power in obeying the deeper instruction before the external world becomes easy. Why? Because that is the moment when identity is forged. Anyone can move once the outcome is obvious. Anyone can trust once the reward is already visible. Anyone can speak with confidence after the door has opened. But the chosen soul is shaped in the earlier hour, the harder hour, the hour when the old self trembles and the deeper self says move anyway. That hour determines more than comfort ever could. This is also why acceleration may follow obedience with surprising speed. Once the inner misalignment is removed, energy that was being lost to resistance begins to flow again. Once the wrong attachment is released, space opens for what was trying to reach you. Once self-betrayal ends, clarity sharpens. Once the soul stops arguing with what it already knows, movement becomes possible. It can feel sudden, but it is not magic in the shallow sense. It is the natural result of a life no longer divided against itself. Be careful not to reduce obedience to dramatic gestures alone. Sometimes, the most powerful obedience is hidden and ordinary. It is resting when exhaustion says keep performing. It is telling the truth when image management would be easier. It is stepping back when your ego wants to chase. It is being quiet when your wound wants the last word. It is choosing depth over speed, integrity over panic, alignment over appearance. These decisions may seem small in the visible realm, but they open enormous pathways in the invisible one. And understand this clearly. Obedience does not remove mystery. It does not mean you will immediately understand every consequence. What it does is place you in cooperation with a higher order. It removes the inner friction created by living against your own deepest knowing. It allows your life to stop leaking power through hesitation, compromise, and constant self-negotiation. This is why some things now may arrive faster than you expected. You have already made inner decisions that change the architecture of your path. You may not have seen all the results yet, but the path felt them. The unseen felt them. Your future felt them. So if you are in a moment where you know the next truthful step, do not wait for the whole staircase to glow. Respect the instruction you have been given. Honor the knowing you have been carrying. Do not ask small minds to authorize what your soul has already recognized. The faster path is often hidden behind the door called obedience. Not obedience born from fear, but obedience born from resonance. The kind that says, I would rather be faithful to what is real than popular inside what is false. Part 5. Healing is moving ahead of you, so you can survive what is coming. One reason something can arrive faster than expected is because healing has already been moving ahead of you, clearing the ground. Many imagine healing as a process that only looks backward, as though it exists merely to soothe the pain of what has already happened. But true healing is not only retrospective, it is prophetic. It prepares your inner world for the weight of what is coming. It treats wounds not only so you can remember without breaking, but so you can receive without sabotaging. There are blessings that will not stay in the hands of an unhealed self. There are relationships that will collapse under the reflexes of an abandoned heart. There are opportunities that will be mistrusted by a soul, still convinced it must earn love through suffering. There are levels of visibility that will terrify a person whose identity is still built around hiding. This is why healing has been working in you, even when you thought you were simply trying to survive. It was not only helping you recover from the past, it was making you inhabitable to the future. Think about the patterns you are no longer entertaining. Think about the emotional storms that once ruled your decisions, but now pass without possessing you. Think about the conversations that no longer hook you, the false urgencies that no longer command you, the old wounds that still ache sometimes, but no longer define the whole room. That is healing, not perfection, but changed authority. Not the absence of memory, but the end of captivity, not becoming untouched, but becoming ungoverned by the old injury. Chosen ones, healing is one of the holiest forms of preparation because it restores your ability to recognize truth when it appears. A wounded self often confuses chaos for passion, delay for safety, pain for loyalty, and scarcity for identity. But a healing self sees more clearly. A healing self can distinguish invitation from manipulation. A healing self can discern between what is urgent and what is merely loud. A healing self does not kneel before every emotional wave. It learns to remain in itself, to breathe, to witness, to respond rather than collapse. This matters because when something comes quickly, your nervous system must know how to remain present. Many people pray for change but are internally unready for it. When it arrives, they panic, doubt, overanalyze, or recreate old drama because intensity awakens unresolved fear. But healing has been teaching you another way. It has been teaching you how to stay, how to remain with yourself, how to not run the moment life becomes too alive, how to let goodness enter without immediately questioning whether it is a trick. Do not despise the tenderness of your healing season. It may have looked slower than ambition wanted. It may have lacked the dramatic proof your ego preferred. But it was doing work that performance could never accomplish. It was teaching your spirit safety from the inside out. It was teaching your body that peace is not laziness. It was teaching your mind that uncertainty is not always danger. It was teaching your heart that receiving does not always lead to loss. And perhaps most importantly, healing has been restoring your relationship with your own worth. not the performative worth the world celebrates, not the conditional worth attached to output, approval, or productivity, but the deep worth that exists before you prove anything. The worth that allows you to stand upright without begging life to explain why you matter. The worth that makes you less likely to accept crumbs simply because they arrive in ornate packaging. If something is coming faster than you expected, it is because some part of you has finally become able to welcome it without immediately handing the controls back to fear. That is healing's quiet miracle. It does not always announce itself with thunder. Sometimes it reveals itself in the fact that you no longer need to shrink to feel safe. Sometimes it reveals itself in the fact that your first instinct is no longer self-protection at all costs, but grounded openness. Sometimes it reveals itself in your ability to say, I am ready to receive what once would have overwhelmed me. Healing has been moving ahead of you. Trust that. The path has been softened in places you cannot yet see. The ground is more prepared than your doubt would suggest. And when the faster arrival comes, you will understand why all that inner restoration mattered. It was not delaying your life. It was making your life durable enough to be blessed. Part 6. Spiritual authority is born when you stop needing to be chosen by what cannot see you. There is a difference between wanting a better life and carrying spiritual authority. A better life can still be desired from ego, fear, comparison, and hunger for validation. But spiritual authority emerges when the soul is no longer asking the blind to certify its light. It is born when you stop needing to be chosen by systems, people, and structures that were never built to recognize your depth. This is one of the great turnings in the life of the chosen one, and it is often the reason things begin to shift more quickly than before. For a long time, many souls live as petitioners before small thrones. They wait for approval from people who cannot even approve themselves. They shape their voice around what will be palatable. They lower their standards so they will not be abandoned. They perform versions of themselves that are easier to manage, easier to categorize, easier to keep. But this costs something precious. It costs presence, it costs dignity, it costs inner agreement. It fractures the soul because it teaches you to negotiate with your own truth in exchange for proximity to what was never meant to define you. Spiritual authority begins the day you stop asking outer blindness to validate inner clarity. It begins when you realize your worth does not become real only after someone else acknowledges it. It begins when your center no longer depends on applause. It begins when you stop chasing rooms that require your diminishment as the price of entry. This is not arrogance, it is maturity. It is the quiet recognition that what is true in you does not need to kneel before what is incapable of perceiving it. Chosen ones, the faster movement now approaching your life may be linked to this very shift, because once you stop leaking your energy into proving yourself, a great deal of power returns to you. Once you stop pleading for recognition from those committed to misunderstanding you, your voice becomes cleaner. Once you stop negotiating with mediocrity, your spirit regains altitude. Authority is not loudness, it is coherence. It is when your inner world and outer steps begin to agree, and life responds to coherence with momentum. This authority will also change the quality of what you attract. When you are still starving for validation, you tend to welcome whatever looks like permission. But when authority is growing in you, discernment sharpens. You begin to sense the difference between what flatters you and what truly aligns with you. You stop saying yes to opportunities that feed the image but wound the spirit. You become less seduced by urgency, novelty, and appearance. You become more faithful to depth, resonance, and integrity. That is authority. That is why your path becomes cleaner. Authority also means your presence itself begins to carry weight, not because you are performing power, but because you are no longer split. There is a gravity to a soul that has stopped apologizing for its essence. There is a steadiness in a person who has suffered, healed, discerned, and returned to themselves. Others may not know how to explain it, but they feel it. Circumstances feel it. Doors feel it. Timing feels it. Life responds differently to a person who no longer arrives fragmented. Do not misunderstand this. Spiritual authority does not remove humility. It deepens it, but it is not the false humility that shrinks, hides, and waits to be permitted. It is the humility that knows it is part of something greater, and therefore no longer needs to dramatize its insecurity. It is the humility that can stand tall without worshipping itself. It is the humility that can receive without groveling, lead without dominating, and move without begging. If something is coming faster than you expected, perhaps it is because you have finally become less available to what diminishes you. Perhaps it is because your soul has withdrawn its application from the kingdom of lesser approval. Perhaps it is because you have stopped trying to be selected by what cannot truly see. That is a powerful shift. It makes room for what is actually worthy of your yes. It makes room for a life that meets you at the level of your clarified spirit. It makes room for arrival, not because you forced it, but because you stopped consenting to less. Part 7. Prepare to receive without shrinking, doubting, or delaying yourself. Now we come to the final movement of this message, and it is perhaps the most important. If something is coming faster than expected, you must prepare not only for its arrival, but for your response to that arrival. Many people believe preparation ends once the door opens. It does not. A deeper preparation is required when what you asked it for, what you hoped for, what you quietly endured for, finally begins to stand at the threshold of your life. In that moment, many are tempted to shrink, question, overcomplicate, or postpone what they once begged to receive. Do not let that be your story. Receiving is a spiritual act. It sounds simple, but for many it is harder than striving. Striving allows control. Striving allows delay through endless activity. Striving can hide fear behind movement, but receiving requires openness. It requires trust. It requires the surrender of old protective identities. It requires the courage to let life become better than what your wounded self expected. This is why some people sabotage arrival. Not because they do not want good things, but because deep down, goodness still feels unfamiliar. Chosen ones, you must prepare to receive without shrinking. Do not become smaller at the edge of your own breakthrough. Do not suddenly act unworthy when the door finally opens. Do not speak against what your spirit has been preparing to hold. The old self may whisper, "This is too much for you, this is moving too fast, you should wait, you should hesitate. You should lower your expectation before disappointment finds you." But that voice is not wisdom. It is memory wearing the mask of caution. Do not obey it. Prepare to receive without doubting. This does not mean you become naive or lose discernment. It means you stop worshipping suspicion as intelligence. There is a form of self-protection that has been praised so long, it now wears the costume of maturity. But not every open door is a trap. Not every rapid change is instability. Not every moment of favor must be interrogated until joy disappears. Discernment is holy. Chronic distrust is not. Learn the difference. One is grounded and clear, the other is wounded and exhausting. Prepare to receive without delaying yourself. There are souls who arrive at the edge of transformation only to ask for more time because the old identity is still packing its bags. Do not delay what has already come to meet you. Do not create new hesitations simply because your familiar patterns are uncomfortable with the new pace. There is a season for slow ripening, and there is a season for decisive acceptance. If this is the hour of arrival, then let it also become the hour of your yes. This preparation is inward. Strengthen your posture, clean your inner room. Release the addiction to worst-case imagination. Stop rehearsing failure before life is even spoken. Stop treating your own future like an intruder. Welcome it. Make peace with the fact that your life is allowed to change in ways that exceed the version of you that once only knew how to survive. Survival trained you, but it does not get to govern your receiving. And remember this deeply. What comes faster is not always meant to bypass your discernment, but it may bypass your old excuses. That is why this message found you, to make you aware, to tell you that when it begins, you must not freeze. When it appears, you must not pretend you are not ready simply because readiness no longer looks like your old idea of certainty. You are more prepared than your fear admits. You are more rooted than your doubt declares. You are more capable than the old timeline wants to confess. So stand ready, not tense, but awake, not desperate, but open, not arrogant, but willing. Let your spirit become a place that can recognize blessing without suspicion, movement without panic, and increase without self-erasure. Let your inner voice become a place of agreement rather than resistance. Let your next yes be clean, whole, and unashamed, because something will come more quickly than you imagined. And when it does, may it find you standing in full remembrance of who you are, not begging, not hiding, not apologizing, but receiving with the calm power of a soul that finally understands this truth. What is meant for you does not ask you to become smaller in order to hold it. It asks you to become fully present. Closing declaration. Chosen ones, this is your final reminder. The atmosphere around your life is changing. The old pace is losing its authority. The old delay is no longer your identity. The old fear is no longer your language. Something is approaching with a speed that will make your former doubts look small in hindsight. And when it arrives, you must not stand there speaking the vocabulary of limitation over a moment that was prepared through your hidden battles, your inner obedience, your healing, your separation, your patience, and your becoming. Do not say, "I never saw this coming." Your spirit saw it. That is why it has been restless. That is why it has been shedding what no longer fits. That is why it has been pulling away from noise, confusion, and shallow attachments. That is why you have felt the pressure of transition without having all the words for it. The soul always knows before the mind can explain, and now the explanation is catching up. Let this be the line you draw in the unseen. You are no longer available for the timeline built from fear. You are no longer available for the agreements that kept you small. You are no longer available for delay that teaches you to doubt your own becoming. You are no longer bowing before what cannot see you. You are no longer calling your preparation wasted. You are no longer asking permission to enter what has already begun moving toward you. Stand in this declaration with the full weight of your spirit. What is aligned will arrive. What is true will stand. What is meant will not lose your address. What was prepared in silence will not die in silence. What is your name in the deeper order of things will come with precision, not confusion. And when it comes, you will not meet it as the fearful version of yourself that once trembled before uncertainty. You will meet it as the one who endured, the one who healed, the one who learned, the one who obeyed the deeper voice, the one who stayed through the hidden years, the one who became strong enough to receive. So lift your head, Steady your heart. Prepare your inner house. Let your expectation become clean again. Let hope return without apology. Let courage rise without performance. Let your spirit remember that great changes often approach in silence before they arrive in unmistakable form. You do not need to chase what is already being directed toward you. You need to remain ready, clear, and aligned enough to recognize it when it enters the room. And if this message found you at the exact moment your soul needed confirmation, then do not pass it by lightly. Like this video, subscribe, activate the notification bell, leave a comment to declare that you are ready. Share this video with someone whose spirit is also standing on the edge of a turning point. Let your action become agreement. Let your agreement become alignment. Let your alignment become the doorway through which your next chapter enters. Because this is not the season where you shrink back. This is not the season where you explain away the stirring. This is not the season where you return to the life that kept asking you to stay half awake. This is the season where you prepare. This is the season where you recognize. This is the season where you receive. And this is the season where what is coming finds you ready.